You are listening to The Cracked Nation. I'm Caleb Henry. I'm here with Micah Woodbury. Tyler Robbins will be joining us a little bit later. He had some things come up, so he'll be joining us in about 10 minutes. We are here on KOCC Eagle Broadcasting, and we're going to be talking Oscar predictions today. It's going to be a great show. Now, we're splitting this up 2 days. Today, it's going to be about half the categories. We tried to split them up pretty evenly about big categories and not so big categories. And then Thursday has the big one, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actress is going to be a big topic tomorrow or Thursday. So make sure you listen today and Thursday for both. We are recording this for YouTube, so you can follow us on there. Also at youtube.com/TheCrackedNation. Feel free to tweet in any comments or questions at TheCrazy and at Cracked_Nation. And you can hit us up on our cell phones if you have our numbers or on Facebook. So we're just going to go ahead and just jump right in. With some of the categories that nobody knows anything about. There's some, like, best documentary short. Like, who really has watched any of those that are not critics? Like, even critics don't know.
Right.
I was listening to Richard Roper, who's one of the best critics right now. Or one of the top critics, I should say. There's no such thing as a best critic. And he said, he was like, yeah, my pick is this. And he's like, I knew you were going to pick that one too, as a complete joke, because nobody has a clue what the best picks are. And so we're just going to go real quickly with best short film live action. Okay. I have no idea, but Roper predicted Curfew would win. So if you're keeping tabs, write that down. Now, I love doing a pool with friends when it comes Oscar time. You know, there's 24 categories, and you write down winners in each category. And the little categories are worth just as much as the big ones. So if you pick the winner of Curfew and you miss Best Picture, you got just as many points as the guy did that got the Best Picture pick right. So it's not saying that, it doesn't matter about the little category. It's important to know. And so Roper said pick Curfew, so I guess we'll go with that one. I don't know any of the others. I'm not even going to list off the nominees.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, Best Short Film Animated. Now this one I have seen the one that I'm going to pick, Paperman. I don't know if you've seen it, Micah. I believe it was at the beginning of Wreck-It Ralph is when it came out. It's a little short film. They're kind of stick figures. And this guy, there's no talking. He sees this girl, bumps into her or something. And he ends up, throwing these paper airplanes and trying to hit her window across the street. And it ends up, he can't do it. And one, goes off and leaves. And it ends up hitting her at some point. She turns around and sees him or something. It's a really cool little short film. I hope that one wins because it was very genius. It felt like, the little Pixar shorts that they used to have, And I don't think there were any Pixar shorts this year that I can remember. So definitely go with Paperman. It should win. Probably
also,
will.
Heard about Maggie Simpson in The Longest Daycare.
Is that one of these?
Yeah, it's. I'm sitting here looking at the list.
Oh my goodness, it is.
Honestly, it is The Simpsons. Don't want to get any knock towards Matt Groening, but Paperman. I've heard people who don't really know anything about anything say that it's good. So
yeah, Paperman is great. And when I first saw it, I was kind of like, this is a little lame. But I'm used to the Pixar shorts, which are literally like a little movie. Whereas this one was literally a short that
it was in black and white,
people put together. What
was it in black and white?
It was in black and white, which was cool, and it was just very unique, very cool, very creative. So pick Paperman to win that for sure. Best documentary short subject. Roper said pick Open Heart. Okay, pick Open Heart. Again, haven't heard of these. We're kind of getting rid of these. We don't want to talk about these on Thursday.
Right.
So we're getting rid of all the boring categories now. And then we'll get into some bigger ones here. And then best documentary feature. Now, I have heard some about this one, Searching for Sugar Man. It's apparently really good. That's what Roper picked to win. And it's the only one that I've really heard of out of these listings. And I've heard some good things about it. It's about two South Africans set to discover what happened to their unlikely musical hero, the mysterious 1970s rock and roller Rodriguez or something like that. But apparently it's really good. I've heard good things about it. Go with that one if you want to be a winner there, because it's probably going to win also. Now, remember, these are just our picks for predictions. These are not going to win for sure, because I guarantee you I miss about half of these.
Probably more.
Probably more. I think last year I picked right about half, but that's because all those categories that were that nobody knew about. Roper, or I was listening to some critics, and they all picked certain ones, and they ended up winning. So I got like half, but not the big categories. The big ones are where the big upsets are. So we're going to go with a category that actually is fun to talk about now. And we're going to talk about best makeup and hairstyling.
Right.
This is kind of a weird category because some people are like, who really cares? But you look at the nominees, there's only 3 nominees: Les Miserables, The Hobbit, and Hitchcock. That's it. I am so shocked that Lincoln is not on here.
Right. Because it was
the makeup
fantastic.
How do you make Daniel Day-Lewis look that much like Lincoln? Because when you look at Day-Lewis by himself, he does not look like Lincoln that much. And yet they made him look so much like Lincoln. So I'm surprised that one didn't make it. I heard, Anna Karenina, I think that's how you say it, Karenina, is up for some other costume awards, but not for makeup and hairstyle. So I was kind of surprised there, too.
Right.
But back to the 3 nominees, Les Mis, The Hobbit, and Hitchcock. I personally would pick Les Mis here.
Right.
Because it was a great makeup and hairstyling there. I mean, great job. But there was some stuff in The Hobbit that looked fantastic also. Have you seen The Hobbit, Micah?
I have not, but I've seen many features on it.
Right. Well,
also, that has to do with Lord of the Rings. So, I mean, obviously they're going to have pretty good makeup and
and the one thing that I would say would be the reason why I wouldn't pick it to win this year is because most of it was CGI. The Lord of the Rings didn't have much CGI compared to The Hobbit. The Hobbit, there are full scenes that are all CGI. Like,
really?
Yeah, I saw a thing on it the other day that Weta Workshop, who did the special effects and everything in the miniatures, that they put out about the green screen and the CGI, or CG, I think is what they call it. And I watched it, and it was about a 4-minute clip, and there were some scenes, like when they're down in the dungeons, that are 100% CGI. None of it was there in real life. Not even the dwarves running across. That was all edited in.
That's pretty surprising, actually.
So, but that doesn't go under the hair and makeup, which is kind of surprising because other than the dwarves, there really wasn't much hair and makeup. So I definitely think Les Mis should win that one. Although, if you look at what Anthony Hopkins in Hitchcock looks like, he looks a lot like Alfred Hitchcock. And they did a great job of making him look very overweight and very Hitchcock-like. If you know what Hitchcock looks like, then you know Anthony Hopkins doesn't really look like him in real life.
Right.
And they made him look a lot like him. So that was a very good job there. So pick Les Mis there. I think I have Les Mis to win 4 awards, I think. And that's one of them. And so definitely pick that one. Now we're going to go up to costume design. This one's a fun category because there's quite a few in for costume design. And I love when they have good costumes. It's one of the things in movies that I think is overlooked. And some great nominees this year. Here are the nominees.
Definitely.
Snow White and the Huntsman, Mirror, Mirror, Lincoln, Les Mis, and Anna Karenina. Now, I never would have thought in the history of film that Mirror, Mirror would get an Oscar nomination. But it did. Now,
I'm actually not surprised about that.
Not for this one category.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But in general, the movie just wasn't an Oscar-type movie.
Right,
but
it didn't, no.
The set looked great. Now, there's 3 here that I think could win. Snow White and the Huntsman was really good, but I don't think it's good enough to win.
No.
Now,
because we've seen it too much.
Right.
That type of costume, we've seen it too much.
It wasn't a unique costume. And then Mirror, Mirror, I just can't pick that. Lincoln, great costumes, as I said earlier, the hair and makeup. So Lincoln would definitely be up there. Les Miserables, obviously, is probably going to win. That's my pick to win. And then Anna Karenina is also up for best costume design. Now it's going to be
Anna Karenina, I would think it is.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Anna Karenina. Now, Les Mis and Lincoln, it's going to be tough between those two. Now, Roper actually picked at that Anna Karenina one. I'm not even going to say that right. I'm going to butcher it every time. Tyler is joining us just now.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
So we're talking costume design right now. And just so you guys know, if you just tuned in, we're talking about our Oscar predictions. The Oscars are Sunday. I'm not sure what time yet. I don't think they've released, or I haven't really looked too into it, but Sunday. So these are our predictions of half the categories. And we went through the first 4 categories really quick. It was just like the documentary short, live action short. Nobody knows any of those, so we just kind of went over those. So, yes, you're listening to The Cracked Nation here on Eagle Broadcasting, KOCC. And if you want to tweet in, feel free. Tell us what you think is going to win and what you think should win. At TheCrackedNation and at @cracked_nation. And we'll respond to tweets and everything. And right now we're talking costume design, Tyler, just so you know, because you just walked in.
Right.
And I'll relist the nominees real quick. Anna Karenina. I'm just going to say it like that. I'm sorry.
Karenina.
Karenina.
There you go.
Les Miserables, Lincoln, Mirror, Mirror, and Snow White and the Huntsman.
Okay.
Now, I said my pick to win is Les Mis because...
I don't think there's any doubt.
I would say that, but Lincoln is one of those Academy-type movies.
Well, definitely.
That they just, for some reason...
They like piling on to movies like that.
Exactly.
Like the King's Speech comes to mind.
Exactly. Was the King's Speech really the best costume that year?
Did it win that?
I'm going to check right now, but it was one of those that they could have picked that.
See, Anna Karenina, like, I'm looking at photos for it right now. I don't even know what it's really about.
No, it's based off a book that's really popular, and apparently they've made multiple versions of it.
It's not in for Best Picture, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But it was, it'll be it's up for costume, and so I think it's going to be Lincoln or Les Mis will be the 2 that are up for it.
What about Snow White and the Huntsman?
We talked about that briefly right as you walked in, that Snow White and the Huntsman is one of those like costume designs that we've seen before.
Okay.
It's very...
Looking at sorry.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Looking at Anna Karenina, these costumes, pretty nice. Not going to lie.
No, I saw some pictures of it, and that's why Roper picked it. Now, if Roper's picking it, it means that it's got some
traction behind it.
It's got something behind it to say, yeah, this movie's good. Now,
I mean, it looks historically correct, but at the same time, Lincoln,
right?
I mean, would also be, but
for some reason, and I don't know why, but I have a feeling Lincoln is going to be one of those that might come out with 8 wins in this Oscar season.
It's a typical Oscar-winning.
Now, King's Speech
movie.
was nominated for Best Costume. It didn't win.
Okay.
But it was nominated.
Okay.
And so
I was more, when I said King's Speech, I was more thinking of the fact that it took home like 7 or 8 awards.
It actually only won 4.
Really?
It was nominated for like 11.
Now it won some of the big ones, right?
It did. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Performance by Lead Actor, and Best Original Screenplay. Like the biggest 4.
Right. And I can't believe that I can't believe that Jeffrey Rush didn't win Best Supporting Actor too. That surprised me.
The only reason he didn't win is because of Christian Bale in The Fighter.
Right.
It was that same year, and unfortunately for Jeffrey Rush, because Christian Bale was so good.
Yeah.
Right.
So for costume design, you're picking Les Mis.
I pick Les Mis.
I'm going to go and pick Anna Karenina, mainly because this is the 3rd Academy Award nomination for Jacqueline Duran, who is the costume designer. She was also nominated in 2005 for Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, really?
Also 2007 for Atonement. So I'm not sure if she won those, but just the fact that she was nominated, I mean, maybe she's on a dry spell. Maybe it's time. So.
Now, this one in the next category, what's your pick here, Tyler? What do you think is going to win out of Les Mis, Lincoln, and Anna Karenina? I'm not going to get it right.
It's 2 names, Karenina.
Karenina.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Well done.
Beautiful.
Karenina. I got it now.
Okay.
Your host, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay. And this is tough. But honestly, as good as Lincoln was, the costumes to me didn't really have that pizzazz factor.
Right.
And I feel like they were historically accurate. I mean, they looked great, but there was nothing extremely difficult about them. I mean, it's not a high level of difficulty to produce those.
That is true.
And so
it's probably more difficult in makeup and hair than in costume.
Right, which
Definitely.
it wasn't nominated for. So I thought it
didn't
was
get makeup?
No, there were only 3, and we went over that. real quick.
Oh, yeah, we did.
It was Hitchcock, The Hobbit, and Les Mis. Those were the only 3 nominated for Best Hairstyle and Makeup.
Wow.
In terms of...
Not even like how does Anna Karenina
you go.
not get nominated for that? When you look at what it looks like, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, and so...
Because they don't look like they have too much... And Anna Karenina doesn't look like they have too much makeup. Obviously, you have to have makeup for movies so you don't shine.
Right. But it doesn't look like that changed a lot of the...
Right. Mainly, it's just like the decor and all the
right. But it was
hairstyling
hairstyling, too. And if you look at the hairstyles in that... But I definitely think Les Mis or Lincoln should win best costume design. But that's just my pick, and we're all kind of split here. So what was your actual final pick there, Tyler?
Well, I mean, like that being said, I don't really feel like Lincoln probably deserves this one.
Right, and I don't either.
So by that measure, I mean, Lincoln, great movie, but I'm not taking anything away from it. But best costume, I'm going to go with Les Mis, just because it's a combination of kind of a popular movie and a movie that critics like simultaneously.
Yep. Right.
And those costumes represented a high level of difficulty to produce.
That is very true.
And so that's what I'm going off of.
So Les Mis?
I did.
Okay.
Now, we've gone through...
I can see it winning.
That was our 6th category already out of the 12 that we're going to talk about.
Yes,
but those first 4 didn't really count. And so we're going to get way more in depth in these last 6.
Right.
And the first one is production design. Now, there's a big difference between costume design and production design. The nominees aren't too much different. Here are the nominees. Anna Karenina, The Hobbit, Les Miserables, Life of Pi, and Lincoln. In my opinion, that's a much better leave out Mirror and Snow White and bring in Life of Pi and The Hobbit.
And it's a little tougher to choose in this category.
It is, because when you're talking production design, it's not what the people look like, it's what the surroundings look like.
Right, it's the environment.
And I definitely think Les Mis is a favorite here, along with Lincoln and The Hobbit. Now,
definitely. The Hobbit would probably win.
I would say that, but I don't think any of the Lord of the Rings ever won production design except for Return of the King.
Did that win?
Yeah, it won. Well, if it was nominated. It was nominated for 11 awards, so I think it was probably up for that one. But when you're thinking of a big production, the 2 that come to mind are Les Mis and Lincoln. Now, Life of Pi might sneak in there. Because if you think about the movie, I don't know if you saw it, Micah.
I did not, actually.
Tyler and I went and watched it. I don't know how much of that movie was on a set and how much was actually like out.
Most of the movie was on the set.
It was.
If I'm not mistaken. I've seen a few special features about it, and a lot of it was in the set.
Okay, if that was done primarily on set, then that's going to be a strong contender. Because the ship scene alone, and then the carnivorous island, those 2 things.
There's a couple things in this movie that really would boost it above the rest.
Again,
and,
if they were on a set.
Right. And I mean, I'm guessing the boat was on a set. Like, if the Titanic was, then this one was, kind of deal.
Right.
He's not going to go out and film it in the ocean, I don't think.
But for me, if most of it was filmed on the set, that would take away from it. If I was judging, because production is everything that you can make out of what you have around you or what you can build.
Right, but it's production design. It's what it looks like. It's more of, like, how real it looks.
Actually, yeah.
So the fact that we don't know if it was on set or not shows a big deal.
That's true.
It was really good production. So, it's hard to pick one here. I believe I picked Les Mis. I wrote it down after I thought about it, and I couldn't. I picked Lincoln to win, although I think Les Mis should win. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Les Mis wins, I'll be like, yeah, that was probably the right choice. But I think they're going to go with Lincoln here because I can't see Lincoln losing any of these categories. It's going to win one of these 2.
Oh, definitely.
It's going to either win Best Costume Design Best Costume Design or Best Production Design. I think it's going to win one of the 2.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My thing is, can I go ahead and make my prognostications on this one? I think that Les Mis, the scenes with the where they are showing the whole city and the setting up the barriers and all that, all that, just the second half of the movie to me earns it that award. Yeah, I feel like, Lincoln had some very strong set productions, and obviously Life of Pi, like I said, the scene with the ship alone really gives them props in my book. But throughout the movie, when you're going start to finish, especially for the solid second hour and a half of Les Mis, I think it earns it. I think I'm going to give it to Les Mis. Yeah, and that one scene in Les Mis close to the end where they're panning around and everybody's singing against that big barricade. Yeah, that alone would almost give it the award. That was a extremely difficult set to make. Yeah, and everybody there is actually singing. Because they recorded it all live. Right. But there was one scene in the movie they didn't record live, and that was that first scene with the boat because all the water they couldn't do it. Right. But even that scene is huge. What a set. Oh yeah. I definitely think Les Mis should win, but I think I might switch it by the time I actually submit my final picks. Actually, I'm going to switch it right now. I'm going to say Les Mis will win. Okay.
I had Lincoln, but I'm going to switch it.
And Les Mis isn't a typical Oscar-winning type movie, but it has the potential to win a lot of awards.
Yeah, it's kind of different. It's one of those where originally when it was like when people were talking about it, they were saying it could potentially be nominated for 16 awards, most all time.
Oh my gosh.
That's what originally I was hearing from some critics that pre-screened it or saw some of the production. They were saying it could literally be up for every award it can possibly.
And it's a musical.
And it's a musical, which is also why.
Like all music.
Well, here's the thing. It's that, like I said before, it's that rare movie that bridges the gap between critical success and not only critical success but critical acclaim and something that the general public likes and will go to see.
Yeah, and unlike Chicago, which won in 2002 and it was a musical, fans didn't like that movie that much. Most of the people haven't even seen the movie. Les Mis is a huge success with fans and critics.
Right.
So that will also help, like Tyler said.
It was probably a lot more tasteful than Chicago.
Both, which is very rare for a musical especially. So yeah, Les Mis, best production design. I switched it just now. That's what I'm picking. And that should win, honestly. When you think of a production, you think Les Mis.
Of everything as a whole.
Yeah,
besides the best film.
Besides best film, but when you think of a production, when you think which film was the biggest production this year,
the body of work.
The one that comes to mind is Les Mis every time.
Right.
So we're gonna get off that category because we've been talking about it for a little while. If you're just tuning in, this is the Cracked Nation here on KOCC Eagle Broadcasting. We've been talking Oscar predictions, and we're gonna be talking about this on Thursday also from 3 to 4. So make sure you tune in then. And then the Oscars are on Sunday, and then post Sunday we're gonna be talking about the winners and all that, and who got snubbed and all that. Our next category here is Best Editing. Now, Best Editing is a category that a lot of people don't know much about, so I'm going to go over it real quick. I'll list the nominees, and then I'll explain what it's for. The nominees are Argo, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Silver Linings Playbook, and Zero Dark 30. This is the first Argo nominee that we've talked about so far. Best Editing is how well scenes mix together and how well it flows in general. That's the best editing, is all the, you've taken your camera shots, now you have to splice them up and put them together and make the whole movie flow. That's your editing part. And so a lot of people don't really know, is editing important? Yeah. Editing might be the most important post-production thing you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
It is the most important post-production.
Besides audio editing, which is another category. But
audio editing and visual editing are definitely the two most important. Now, I'm not going to pick between the two because that's stupid. But
and if you have a movie that's great visually and all the actors and actresses sound like, yes, there he is.
Yeah, if you can't hear them very well.
It's not going to go well for you.
Right, exactly. And they work hand in hand. So,
and if the cutscenes, and you'll notice, I'll bring up Taken 2, might be the worst editing I've seen in a movie in years. There were cutscenes that should have been longer or shorter. The editing was awful in that movie. And you can tell when a movie's edited bad, even though you might not know it's the editing, you can tell that when something's wrong, you're like, oh, the editor was not.
Because mostly when you see a bad movie, it probably has bad editing. You're just not paying attention to that aspect. And we're film majors, so, we obviously would pay attention to it.
And the timing, the amount of time that goes into editing is unbelievable. Hours upon. I don't even want to mention a number because I don't know. But
several
so
months.
Much time
several
in
months.
Just post-production editing. And so I'll relist the nominees real quick. Argo, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Silver Linings Playbook, and Zero Dark 30. Roper picked Zero Dark 30. Now I
could see
no
that.
Idea.
I could see that.
I definitely could. Now, I believe The Hurt Locker won Best Editing also.
Okay.
So if that was the case, it did? Mm-hmm. So she's obviously won a Best Editing award already, or Catherine Bigelow, even though she's not the one up for it. It's her movie. Probably same people. So Zero Dark 30 definitely could. I have not seen Silver Linings Playbook, unfortunately. So I'm not going to speak on that one.
I've heard it's really good, but I don't know if you can't really use the trailer as any sort of indicator, but it doesn't look like the type of movie that's just going to jump out at you. But it is nominated for Best Picture, so
it is.
There has to be something in there. Maybe it's the acting, maybe it is the editing, maybe it's a combination of the two or more.
Yeah, and so I'm going to just leave. I don't think Silver Linings should win Best Editing from what I've heard. it just doesn't strike me as that's what made the movie good. Even though it obviously had great editing, it wasn't like, oh yeah, talking good editing, Silver Linings Playbook. Like, you don't think that. You do think, I think Zero Dark 30 when I hear good editing.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Life of Pi might get it.
Dude, the editing in that movie was excellent.
Spot on.
Like, the way they transition scenes and all that stuff is just fantastic.
Yeah, to kind of give the listeners a little bit of an idea on film editing, like what people are looking for. In 2010, The Social Network won. If you've seen that, it cuts between, flashbacks to and then the current scene where people are all sitting in a room talking, and it does it just seamlessly and flawlessly. I mean, that's definitely a movie that should have won, and that kind of gives a good case for kind of what it should look like.
Right.
Exactly, which is why I think Zero Dark 30, because it flashes back and forth a lot.
Right.
And it lets you know very well about what time period you're in, even though it stretches like a 12-year period in the movie.
Right.
You're not lost. You don't seem like it. At least I wasn't. Maybe it's just me, but and then I also think Life of Pi, because he's telling a story, and the way it flashes back and forth, and then Argo also. You have to talk about Argo here when you're talking best editing.
Right. Now,
Argo has won the most awards, the big awards, I should say, so far this award season.
Right.
It's won like Best Picture a couple times by the other award categories, Best Director, Best random categories. Now, I don't know if it's won Best Editing, but I think Zero Dark 30 and Argo were the two that I thought of when I heard Best Editing. Because the way that they were just so suspenseful, and every shot was important. When you think of good editing, every shot is important, and every transition and everything. And so me picking a winner here is going to be tough. It's always scary this year to pick for Zero Dark 30 because of all the controversy around the movie, and you don't know what kind of people are not going to vote for it just because of the controversy in the movie regardless. And there have been people that came out and said they will not vote for the movie because of the torture scenes. Well, okay, but are they the ones that are voting for editing, or does everybody vote? I don't know how that all works quite yet. So I'm scared to pick Zero Dark 30 because who knows how many people boycott that movie,
Right.
But I still have to pick it for this one category because when I think best editing, I think first thing that came to mind, Zero Dark 30.
Yeah.
The second one was Argo.
Yeah. The first thing that I thought of was Argo, just from what I've thought, or from what I've heard from other people's thoughts. That's one of the very few movies up for Best Picture that I haven't seen, aside from like the foreign films that are that really nobody has seen, or unless you're a critic, like a legit gets paid to review movies critic.
Yeah. And even then, they've all seen them, but
right. So that being said. The first thing that I thought of was Argo, just from what I've heard from everyone that's gone and seen it, how well it flows, and it's constantly suspenseful, and it's constantly keeping you on your feet. That's something that, to me, sounds like just the telltale signs of really good editing.
Yeah, and it does. And Argo it could sneak up here in these Oscars, because people are like, yeah, it was a good movie, but they're talking, you talk Les Mis, and you talk Zero Dark 30 because controversy, Django, Lincoln. Argo's been winning, like I said, so many awards that it's hard to pick against it right now.
Right.
It has so much momentum moving into the Oscars.
And can I just say real quick, can I pop somewhat off subject for a second?
Sure.
The reason that these Oscars, I mean not just these Oscars, but Oscars in general, the reason they're so important is 25 years from now, the movies that win, Best Picture, Best Lead Actor, Best Lead Actress, and so on, those are going to be the movies that people go back and rewatch.
Right.
I mean, this event, more so than anything else, more than the Golden Globes, more than any of the smaller film festival awards sessions, this event determines which movies are going to be immortalized. And so, by that coin, Argo could go, and one successful night, it could go from being a very good movie to one of the all-time great movies. If it won most of its nominations, it could go in as one of the greatest movies of all time. Ben Affleck shoots up as a director, and I mean, I think he's already considered A-list directing material.
Right.
But, I mean,
it's kind of one of those, like, if Zero Dark 30, let's say, takes home all these big awards, you kind of forget Argo.
Yeah.
Like, in we're not saying, like, this year or next year, but in 10 or 15 years.
Retrospect.
You look back and you go, oh, Zero Dark 30 won 6 awards. You kind of, it pushes the others to the back. And what you said about it being kind of immortalized, would anybody have seen Kramer versus Kramer if it didn't win Best Picture? Like, I mean, you could, some people would have, but I would have never even heard of it.
I mean, some people would go see it because it has some great acting in it, but as far as, like...
But again, those were great acting because they got nominated.
Right.
For Oscars.
Right.
And it's one of those where there's a lot of movies. Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's seen that movie. And now that would be one of the few that, because it won Best Picture and it really didn't become immortalized.
But that's one of those movies I feel like, it's like if Amour won this year. It would have a spike in popularity. It would have huge sales on Blu-ray for a while because everyone's like, I want to see this movie. But years later, people are going to still be watching Saving Private Ryan.
Right, and that's exactly what happened with Shakespeare in Love.
For if Amour won, or I'll even say Beasts of the Southern Wild, if one of those foreign films won that didn't really have a big showing in theaters in America, then what would happen is that it'd have a huge spike in popularity.
Yep.
But 5 years from now, the movie that people are still going back and watching is going to be Argo and also Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, and I'm going to mention one that got left off this list for Best Editing that should have been on here, Django.
Oh, man, yeah.
Django, how is it not up for Best Editing? Like,
it's up for Best Picture.
It is up for Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Adapt, or one of the best screenplays.
Mm-hmm.
And which rightfully so, the screenplay in that. We'll get to that. That'll actually be on Thursday that we talk about Best Screenplay.
Right.
But editing, oh man, Django should have been up for Best Editing. And any Tarantino film, in my opinion, should be up for Best Editing.
Is it up for Best Sound Editing?
It's up for Best... I'm looking here. I don't know. It's up for one of the sound awards, and it should because the sound in that movie is excellent.
Yeah, because to me that movie more so than the fact that it was just visually very well done as far as editing. I remember the sound.
Yeah, and it's up for Best Sound Editing, but not sound mixing.
Okay.
Which I mean, yeah, so that's right.
Yeah, and I mean just the crispness of like when there was a gunshot. I grew up as a shotgun shooter, like a competitive shotgun shooter. So I've been around guns. It sounded realistic. Like it didn't sound like someone shooting a cap gun.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of movies, they don't get that sound right. And just a lot of really, like when the glass breaks with the scene with DiCaprio, it all sounds like you're in the room.
That does. And we'll definitely talk about that when we get to sound editing.
Right.
And that one will also be on Thursday. Thursday's show is definitely going to be the biggest categories. We are going to talk... Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Animated Film, and Best Foreign Film. When we come back, we're going to take our break. You're listening to The Cracked Nation here on KOCC Eagle Broadcasting. We've been talking Oscar nominations, and we'll be back in 2.5 minutes. And we're back here on The Cracked Nation. I'm Caleb Henry. I'm here with Tyler Robbins and Micah Woodbury, and we are talking Oscars. More like Oscar predictions and what we think are going to win and what should win. Make sure you listen Thursday also because we're only doing half the categories today.
And we're intentionally kind of knocking out some of the lower categories. We're covering everything.
Right.
But Tuesday is kind of the day that we work in some of the categories that really the average moviegoer is not going to care all that much about. But, and I'll even say beyond the average moviegoer, because I'd say none of the people in this room are the average moviegoer. I mean, we all are pretty... we enjoy our movies.
Right.
But even I'm not all that excited about Best Live Animated Short Film.
Right.
I mean,
and we shouldn't really be.
Yeah. Or Best Short Documentary. That's something I'm never going to see, most likely.
Well,
so
first of all, that's why we only took about 2 minutes.
Well, right, but
actually not even 2 minutes.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the selling point for Thursday.
Definitely.
Thursday, I'm looking down the list.
Every major category, pretty much what people consider major categories will be talked about on Thursday.
Minus acting.
Right. We are going to talk acting, and I'll get right to that. If you have any questions, make sure you tweet in at @TheCrazy and at @cracked_nation. Or hit us up on Facebook or with our cell phones if you have our numbers. We're not going to give those out. And this is being recorded for YouTube, so if you want to go and watch what you missed or just rewatch it, feel free. That's youtube.com/TheCrackedNation. It probably won't be up tonight, but hopefully tomorrow. It'll be up before Thursday.
And it'll be up on video.
It'll be up on video, yes. And so, real quick recap of what we've gone over. We went over short film, live action, pick. And these are ones that you should pick if you're doing a pool. Pick Curfew for that one. That's what Roper picked. Best animated film. Best film short animated. Paperman, great short. Best documentary short. Open Heart is what Roper picked. Now, again, I don't know any of these really. I do know Paperman, and you should pick that one. Best documentary was Searching for Sugar Man. I've heard about that one. It's great. Best makeup and hairstyling, Les Mis. Best costume design, we were kind of split because I picked Les Mis on that one. And Micah picked Anna Karenina.
Karenina.
Gosh.
Get it together.
I need to like write it down and have it all like abbreviated correctly, or with the lines above it and everything. And then we did best costume design, or that was best costume design. And then best production design. I think we all agreed that Les Mis should win that one. Did we all agree on that? I can't remember what you guys picked, but I picked Les Mis.
I said either Life of Pi or Les Mis.
Right. I forgot about Life of Pi. Okay, and so the next category, and then we talked about editing right before the break, and I think Zero Dark 30 or Argo will win that, and rightfully. I think one of those two should definitely win.
Right.
Now, we're getting into some more fun stuff. One more here, best foreign film.
That we don't know much about.
If you don't pick Amor, then you are automatically marking down a loss. Because
as Billy Engvall once said, here's your sign. If you don't pick the one foreign film that is nominated for, or is it foreign language film?
Yeah, foreign language film.
If you don't pick the one foreign language film that's nominated for Best Picture, then you're going to have a bad time.
Wait, it's nominated for Best Picture as well?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a
winner. I've never even heard of these other ones.
No, the other. I'm not even going to read off the list because it's dumb. Okay.
Well, let's do it just for our international. Okay. International. I'll do it if you want.
Good point. I'll read them off here. Best foreign language film of the year are Amor, War Witch, No, A Royal Affair, and Kon-Tiki.
And those are countries of Canada, Denmark, Chile, Norway, and Austria.
Yeah, and actually, A Royal Affair, I forgot that I've heard stuff about this movie, and apparently it's pretty good. But it's not up for Best Picture like Amor is. So you better pick Amor there to win.
Well, you would think, but you always, when there's like these,
that is true.
These sub categories to, I mean, one movie is nominated in a bigger category. There's sometimes upsets.
That is true, and
so
I would say yes. It might be this time also, except that the same people that voted for the nominees are the ones voting for the win.
It's true.
And they voted it in as Best Picture. So obviously the majority thinks it's the best one.
Right.
So it would really be a bad idea to not vote for it there.
It would be a shocker if it didn't win. And I feel like it's in the best interest of the Academy to give it the win.
Oh, yeah.
Because if not, then, I'm sure it's a complicated process and all that. But to the people that don't understand the process, it looks like the Academy has no idea what they're doing.
Exactly. And they do. I mean, as much as we think they snub people, Christopher Nolan. I'm sorry about the Oscars.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to go on to one of my favorite categories every year. Best animated film. I was going to say short, but it's not short. Just best animated film. Here are the nominees. Brave, Frankenweenie, Paranorman, The Pirates Band of Misfits, and Wreck-It Ralph. Without a doubt.
It's a two-man race.
Yeah, it's definitely a two-man race between Brave and Wreck-It Ralph. And in my opinion, if Brave wins this, I'm going to be so upset. Because Brave, in my opinion, is probably bottom out of the top 10 best Pixar films. When you're talking like just best movie. Because Pixar's come out with so much good stuff.
Well, they've only
nobody
made like
considers
9 films.
It at least out of the top 7. Like you can't. There's no way you could put it in the top 7. Now we're not talking visuals here. We're talking just strictly as an animated movie.
But you're talking about everything that goes into
everything. Story, voices.
I think, okay, obviously, Pirates Band of Misfits not going to win.
No.
Frankenweenie not going to win. Mm-hmm. Paranorman has a shot.
Paranorman would be a very, very outside shot, but critics actually really liked this movie.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, and I would say it has a shot, except that Wreck-It Ralph and Brave
were just
all
so
the awards and all the other other shows,
and they were so beloved when they came out.
That's true. Nobody really was like, "Oh, Paranorman! I can't believe it." This is
I know, but the thing is, it doesn't matter what the people say. It matters what the Academy says, and if they go through everything that goes into the animated feature, all of the effects, all the different things like that. So, if you're talking about that Paranorman does have a pretty good chance. Also, it wasn't 3D animated like the other films.
That's true.
It was stop motion. And when you think about that and what they did with that movie, there's so much work that went into it. Not to belittle anything that Wreck-It Ralph or Brave did.
Right.
But if you had a separate category for stop motion, then I think Paranorman would be a shoo-in.
I mean, but stop motion is animation.
That is true.
So
That's
I mean,
true, but it's a
a
different kind of animation than what they did in Brave.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it takes
right.
I feel like, and especially
anything, more work,
having been a 3D animator,
right,
and won awards for it. I mean, I would think it's a lot tougher to animate stop motion and get what you want, because if you mess up, you have to go back. When you animate, you can just delete a file, start over, keep going.
That is true. And
so
I would say if you're talking like best visually, Brave, without a doubt. That movie looks
that's probably
good.
True.
But the story in general, and even critically, it wasn't really that much. They weren't like, oh yeah, Pixar's back.
Right.
Like, the general premise was it was good.
Pixar hasn't made a great film since. I mean, if you said anything, probably Toy Story 3. But before
Toy Story 3 would be the last one, great one, and then a lot of people would say WALL-E.
I would say Up was a great movie.
Yeah, and But anyway, following the Pixar line, Brave kind of falls short in my opinion.
Right.
Whereas Wreck-It Ralph lived up to the hype and was actually better than people thought it would be.
And the thing with Brave, a lot of people were excited because there was a female protagonist.
Right.
But from what I've heard from the critics, because I still haven't seen it because I didn't really feel like it was worth seeing.
They just didn't pull it off right.
Right.
Like they had a great premise and the story, and everybody was excited for it. And then they just didn't quite do what they should have with the story.
And I think the feel of it, everybody was reminded of How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
Because of the accents and different things like that.
People kind of felt like it was almost a rip-off of How to Train Your Dragon.
Right.
Everybody loved that movie.
Oh, How to Train Your Dragon was fantastic.
A lot of people thought it should have won Best Animated Movie over Toy Story 3.
If Toy Story 3 wouldn't have been in it, How to Train Your Dragon probably would have won.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, Toy Story 3 was up for Best Picture, too.
Yeah, so there's...
Again, it was like, yep, it's going to win because it was up for Best Picture.
Right.
And so, Brave is not... None of these are up for Best Picture, but I think Wreck-It Ralph should win. I want it to win. I think it's the most unique movie that's come out in years when it comes about... When you're talking about animated
video
movies.
Games.
Yeah, it's about video games. And, like, how many cool video game movies are there? None.
Exactly.
And this one even...
Except for maybe Tron, and that doesn't even really fall under a video game movie.
Yeah, and if you're talking animated video game movie, this is like the only one.
Oh, definitely, only one.
And this is, I mean, it's not even really a video game movie in the sense that it follows any one video game. This is like a best of collaboration of taking, kind of some cliches about different video games and putting them all together in a way that's really entertaining.
Right.
And where everybody's like, I mean... I think that Jeremy John said it best. If you really like video games, and especially if you have a history with like old school, I'll say Pong all the way up to, the
Mario Kart
to present day. Yeah, you're gonna see so many parallels, and you're just gonna be like, yeah, I appreciate what they did there.
And if you don't, you're gonna recognize, hey, I've seen these things.
Right.
In
I really like
TV.
the way that they like mixed arcade with like modern games,
right? Like first-person shooters, and
it was like a mix between Halo and an arcade game. I just really loved the story.
Right.
That one, in my opinion, might make me the most upset if it loses out of almost any of the categories here.
Really?
Well, the Golden Globe gave it to Brave.
I know, which is why it's scaring me. So I'm not going to say pick one or the other.
I honestly feel like because of the type of movie that Brave is, it's probably going to win. Because, I mean, Pixar just destroys everyone.
Yeah.
Even though this is a Disney film, Pixar is its own company. Yeah. They just make their movies through Disney. So,
and so, yeah,
we'll see.
I'm picking Wreck-It Ralph because I want to root for it to win.
Right.
And it should win, but it probably won't.
I'm pulling for Paranorman as a dark horse. Probably won't win.
Okay.
But just watch out for it. If it does win, I will say I told you so.
Yeah. We have 3 categories left. You're listening to The Cracked Nation on KOCC Eagle Broadcasting. We've been talking Oscar predictions. The last 3 categories, Best Supporting Actor, Best Actress, and Best Actor. And we have 14 minutes. So let's get into Best Supporting Actor first. Here are the nominees: Alan Arkin for Argo, Robert De Niro for Silver Linings Playbook, Philip Seymour Hoffman for The Master, Tommy Lee Jones for Lincoln, and Christoph Waltz for Django Unchained. Who do you guys think should win this? Because this is a list of Oscars. All these actors have won an Oscar before.
I'm trying to find the list.
It is tough. Now, I would say the one that should not win is Alan Arkin for Argo.
So best supporting actor, we're not going to do actress?
The actress is next.
Okay, right.
We have a big discussion waiting for that one.
Yeah, we've got best lead and best. We've got best lead actor and actress today, but best supporting actress. There's going to be at least some good debate on that one because Caleb and I vehemently disagree on this category.
Yeah. But
and so,
talking best actor here because we're kind of running out of time.
Okay.
Right.
Alan Arkin, in my opinion, was not the best guy in Argo. He's the only guy nominated for an Oscar here. I didn't think he was that good, personally. I thought...
Who's the protagonist in Argo?
Ben Affleck.
That's what I thought. And he's not nominated?
He wasn't nominated.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Okay, but we can get to that when
we'll get to that later. But so Alan Arkin, I definitely think should not win. If he wins, I'll be upset. Right. Now, these next four, Robert De Niro, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Tommy Lee Jones, and Christoph Waltz, I'd be happy with any of those winning. I would love to see De Niro win for Silver Linings Playbook. I have not seen the movie, but from what I've heard, it was back to old De Niro. And De Niro, in my opinion, like if I made a list of all-time greatest actors, he would be in my top 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Who's number 1?
I don't know. I just can't say he's number 1 because that's...
he's not the best actor of all time.
That's fair. That's fair.
To say De Niro's in the top 5 greatest all time is not a stretch at all.
I would
He's done such a wide variety of films.
And I would love to see him win another Oscar 30 years after Raging Bull when he won his other.
That's his last Oscar.
That's his last Oscar. He's only won 2. Godfather Part 2 in 1974. And then
not a surprise.
Raging Bull in 1980, and that's it.
Wow.
And you're like, really? So I'd love to see him win. Philip Seymour Hoffman in The Master. I heard he was really good. I did not see The Master, unfortunately. I've heard he was excellent. But I'd like to see him win an Oscar. I wouldn't be upset with that.
Right. It would be more motivation for me to go, again, like we're talking about the immortalization of movies. If it has an Oscar win behind it, then that's one more reason for me to go back and check out The Master. Besides the fact that it's Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah, exactly. And I love Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
and we'll
Christoph
talk about that
Waltz
when it comes to best directors on Thursday. And then Tommy Lee Jones for Lincoln. I think right now he's probably the favorite to win.
Just because
and
of
it's
Lincoln.
Weird. His acting performance in Lincoln was weird. I don't want to say it was bad because it was really, really good. But it seemed like just normal Tommy Lee Jones.
Well, here's why I'm gonna tip my hand here and say I'm picking him to win.
Yeah, I'm picking him to win also.
Okay.
But I don't think he should. But you go first and you tell me why.
Okay. I think that he did what very few actors, even with a very well written script, could do today, and that is every scene that he was in, he upstaged Daniel Day-Lewis and whoever else he was on screen with. That is hard to do.
And to say upstaging Daniel Day-Lewis...
Yeah, that's what I'm... Yeah.
That is a good point, and I didn't really think of that.
We're not talking about upstaging Nicolas Cage. I
could do that.
I could upstage Nicolas Cage by showing a cutaway of me on a toilet. But...
my gosh.
But we're talking about one of the greatest actors of our day and age.
I'm going to say the greatest actor acting right now.
Okay. Tommy Lee Jones?
In his time, no.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh.
Right now, if he wins, he'll be the only actor to ever win 3 lead actor Oscars.
What else has he won for?
He won for
My Left Foot.
My Left Foot, yeah.
And then There Will Be Blood.
Watch it. The acting in that is so good. But excuse me. I see what you mean by Tommy Lee Jones, and actually, now that you mentioned that, he did steal the show from Day-Lewis, which is shocking.
Right.
I think Christoph Waltz is who I want to win.
Right. Just because of the type of movie that Django is. Like, you want to see it win an award.
And then you see Inglourious Bastards came out in 2009?
2009, I think.
He won for that movie as Best Supporting Actor. Then you watch this performance, you wouldn't think it's the same guy. They are so different. Because one of them's very, like, he's a Nazi and very high up in the rankings and very honorable, honorable if you know what I mean, like proper. And then you have him in Django, and he's a bounty hunter. But he's still a proper bounty hunter, but it's really weird. And so I thought the performance was very good, and he carried that movie. He really did, because Jamie Foxx was good, but by no means could he have carried that movie without Christoph Waltz. So that's why I think Waltz should win. but I'm picking Tommy Lee Jones. Mm-hmm. Roper picked Robert De Niro. It's really a toss-up. And Arkin could definitely win this too. I don't think he should, but he could, because he's been getting... He was one of the first shoe-in lock-ins that people were saying, oh yeah, they'll definitely nominate him for sure, which surprised me. So yeah, I'm going to pick... Jones, I think, will win. I would like to see Christoph Waltz win. That's what I'm going to say. Anything else on that real quick? We got a couple minutes left.
I agree with Micah. Christoph Waltz, I would like to see that. I would like to see Django Unchained win an award. Mm-hmm. As much as I would love for it to, I really don't see it having a chance in Best Picture. Right. I really, really wish that he had gotten nominated for Best Director, because I feel like if he had gotten nominated for Best Director, he would have had a legitimate shot to win it.
Oh, yeah.
I really feel like that.
Now, we're going to talk about that category on Thursday.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, Christoph Waltz winning would be really good.
Django deserves an actor to win in this movie.
Yeah, it would be good.
The movie is too good for one of those actors not to get a win here.
Right.
And they only have one nomination.
Right.
How is Christoph Waltz the only nomination out of that whole movie? You could have nominated Samuel L. Jackson easily.
You could have nominated Leo DiCaprio.
Way easily.
I think that he should have gotten nominated ahead of Christoph Waltz.
And I would agree with that. I think that was the biggest snub when it came to Best Supporting Actor. Was DiCaprio getting left out.
I feel like what they should have done, because Waltz definitely deserved the nomination, I feel like what they should have done is gone Godfather and nominated two people from the same movie for that category, because DiCaprio and Waltz definitely deserved it. To me, Samuel L. Jackson didn't blow me away. I mean, you know what Samuel L. Jackson's going to be.
Right.
As soon as he comes on screen, you know what kind of character he's going to play. But, and especially in a movie like Django, it was kind of reported what his character was.
Right.
But
although it isn't, I wouldn't say it's a typical character for Samuel L. Jackson.
Well,
because you knew what he was getting into. Now it still surprised me how good he was.
Mm-hmm. And it's typical mannerisms. Can I say that?
Oh, yeah, that's probably true.
It's typical mannerisms. But yeah, I think that DiCaprio and Waltz should both have been nominated. Mm-hmm. Disappointed they didn't. I think Tommy Lee Jones wins, but I would love to see Christoph Waltz win too.
Agreed. Now we're gonna go to Best Actress in a Leading Role, because we only have 6 minutes left. Jessica Chastain, Jennifer Lawrence, Emmanuel Riva, Quivanzane Wallace, I don't think I pronounced that right, and Naomi Watts. Now, in my opinion, this is a two-person race. Jessica Chastain for Zero Dark 30 and Jennifer Lawrence for Silver Linings Playbook.
Right.
Now, some people said Emmanuel Riva for Amour is up there too, because she's like 82 years old.
Wow. And
nominated for an Oscar. Now,
yeah. I definitely agree with. I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I haven't seen Silver Linings Playbook.
Right, and in my opinion, Jessica Chastain in Zero Dark 30 is one of the best lead actress performances I've ever seen. Like, she is so good in that movie.
Right.
That if she loses, it's going to be a crime.
Mm-hmm. Well,
not as much as if other actor loses here.
Just to throw another name in there, a lot of people have said to me, not going to give away the movie or what happens in the movie, but a lot of people said if Anne Hathaway would have been in the whole movie.
Well, she's nominated for Best Supporting Actress. And that's why we're going to talk about it tomorrow on Thursday. This is Best Lead. Okay. And so, she's nominated. We'll talk about that later.
There wasn't really a lead actress in that movie. The closest thing would be Cosette, but I mean...
She was almost up for Best Supporting Actress.
Right.
Also. So there was no lead actress in that movie.
Right.
But Silver Linings Playbook, all four actors are up. You got a lead actor, lead actress, supporting actress for Silver Linings Playbook.
I'm going to go with Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence has the best shot. I don't know. De Niro and Jennifer Lawrence both have good shots at winning.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Jessica Chastain win, especially this year, where she came out with 3 solid movies this year.
Right.
Or 4 maybe. And she was in Tree of Life last year. Then she had this movie this year, like really good movies. And I would just like to see her win an Oscar.
Yeah. She has officially, can I just say, she has officially gotten the attention of people.
Yeah.
All right.
And so I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm picking Jessica Chastain
here
to win, and she should win.
Yeah.
And now we're going to talk Best Actor for the last 4 minutes of the show. we'd like to save this till Thursday, but we have 12 solid categories on Thursday. Right. And considering we barely got through 12 categories today, and they weren't all long categories, we're going to be stretched for time on Thursday. So, Best Lead Actor, Bradley Cooper for Silver Linings Playbook, Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln, Hugh Jackman for Les Miserables, Joaquin Phoenix for The Master, and Denzel Washington for Flight.
Daniel Day-Lewis is going to win.
If Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't win, I'm going to be so upset.
He's going to win. I mean, it's the perfect role to win actor in a leading role at the Oscars.
It's an Oscar perfect role, and he kills it.
Yeah. See, here's my only thing. I think that I've said this again and again, and nobody agrees with me. I think that Denzel's acting in Flight was on par with Day-Lewis.
See, I haven't seen Flight.
I haven't. I actually have it in my room right now, so I need to watch it.
Here's what makes the difference for me. It's like you said, Lincoln is an Academy Award-winning movie. Mm-hmm. Just the nature of the animal.
Right.
And so I'm going to say Day-Lewis, but I feel like if there was ever a time for a split award,
right,
and it's not going to happen, but if they could do that,
and then
this year would warrant that.
Then you bring in Hugh Jackman into this talk.
Because
Hugh Jackman, in my opinion, was so good in Les Mis with the singing and the acting. In my opinion, his best acting performance, but by no means was it up on par with Daniel Day-Lewis. I haven't seen Flight, but from what Tyler's saying, he shouldn't be up in the top 2.
He really shouldn't.
Think that, though, if Denzel, being the leading actor in that movie, because I don't even know who else is in it.
In Flight?
In Flight,
Don Cheadle.
Oh, well, if he was the
John Goodman, too.
I didn't know that
at
all.
Anyways.
If he did have an Oscar-winning performance, don't you think it'd be nominated for Best Picture?
No. They're a bit like, same with The Master. There are 3 people nominated for The Master, wasn't up for Best Picture.
Of course, a lot of people...
People said the movie Flight wasn't that great of a movie. Like, they said it was good, but not Oscar-worthy. Whereas his performance in it made it a great movie, a good movie, instead of being just an movie.
Yeah.
Because his acting was
that
so
makes
good.
sense.
Now, I'm going to say Bradley Cooper has no shot here.
Yeah,
I'm glad to see he got a nomination. I think he's a great actor.
Yep.
I haven't seen Silver Linings.
He's not going to beat
Joaquin
Daniel
Phoenix,
Day-Lewis.
Okay, for The Master. We have to talk about this real quick. Joaquin Phoenix in The Master, they said it's his best performance ever, which is saying a lot because he's won an Oscar. And he is anti-Academy Awards. He's come out and said that he is against it. He thinks it's completely rigged. So that definitely hurts his shot of winning. And so I don't think you give him a chance here.
Right.
He'll probably finish at the very bottom. But Roper said it perfectly. He said the second that Daniel Day-Lewis's poster came out for Lincoln, he won the Oscar. And that was so true. The second we saw him on that poster, we were like, yeah, he won.
It looks exactly like Lincoln.
He does. So I'm picking Daniel Day-Lewis, best lead actor in the Oscars. He'll win his 3rd lead actor role, which will put him at number 1 among male actors. Only Audrey Hepburn has won more. She has won 4.
Oh, wow.
And so Daniel Day-Lewis will be at the top of male actors of all time.
Ahead of guys like Jack Nicholson, Humphrey Bogart, De Niro.
Yeah, you're talking. And
Pacino, who only has 1 but should have at least 2.
Right. It's crazy. So there could definitely be some records set this year in the Oscars. If De Niro wins, he'll be 30-year streak cut finally. It's good to see him back. But that's been our show today. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you listen on Thursday from 3 to 4. We're talking more of the big categories, and Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actress will be some great discussion. Make sure you tune in. This has been the Cracked Nation here on KOCC Eagle Broadcasting, and we are out.